Thanks to all those supporters over the journey. My name's Yeendy. I'm joined by Rhodesy, the birthday boy. We're here at Fankhauser Reserve. You're celebrating a birthday milestone here in sunny Queensland, mate. You did highlight it last week that this was going to be the destination. How you feeling, mate? You feeling a bit younger?
Well, I couldn't say younger. You always feel older, don't you? But yeah, 43 going on, I think about 80 at the moment. So, but getting there. I'm a lot better off than I was 12 months ago, as I've said to a few people. But yeah, it's been a lovely day up here, and as it always is, as they say in Queensland, don't they? But yeah, I'd always wanted to come here to the Sharks. First time I've been here for a long time, and yeah, watching the guys train in the background behind us, it's a terrific spot to have a podcast.
Absolutely, and while we were talking about going through our warm-ups, we saw the juniors out on the field, the junior boys, junior girls, the senior women. Just terrific atmosphere around here at the tank here at Fankhauser Reserve, and great to see, I guess, a good example of junior development streamlining into the senior department.
Yeah, no question. The Sharks, as all good clubs do, they like making it one club. Several teams, one club. They certainly sell it that way with the QAFLW teams into the VFL. Those are the three senior teams, the juniors as well. Terrific to see them training on the main field as opposed to their regular ground, the junior oval. It's getting some work done to it as well, we believe. So yeah, it's fantastic that they're like that and they're out here and they get a chance to run around on this great facility out here.
Absolutely. Well, the seniors are the sort of the finale to what has been a terrific afternoon of footy and of those preparing for the upcoming season ahead. And for those who love following the podcast and enjoy what we're doing, we really appreciate the support. Make sure you catch us on Spotify, Anchor, Amazon Music, and of course you can catch us on YouTube. Just type in VFL23, you'll be able to catch up on all the exciting developments that we've got. There's nothing like this in the country in terms of the insight into the VFL and the VFLW, as we continue to say week in, week out. Now, mate, I'm going to start off with some great recruiting news over the weekend for my beloved Bombers. We're excited to see Tom Phillips, Tom Wallace, Brad Lynch, the former Shark,
yep,
and Jake Cleaver from the Waffle sign up. I think the Sharks will be disappointed they're losing Lynchy, but heading down to the red and black. Some handy recruits as they look forward to a big season ahead.
Yeah, and they all played, I believe, on Friday in their practice match against Sandringham, which was a solid win. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, some good recruits for the Bombers, for the VFL side, and people do say that the AFL clubs are more powerful because they've obviously they're in better facilities, they've got the full-time training programs and that sort of thing, but the best performers at VFL level are the ones that have strong VFL lists. You look at Casey Demons last year, had the best list of VFL players, and they lost one game for the year, and that was up here in Queensland when they had a few out in the last week before the finals. So that's what they need to do. They keep their good players together, and the VFL ones are a lot more important than they've been given credit for.
And we're here tonight at the tank here at Fankhauser Reserve, and well, let's be honest, they are all VFL players. Well, most of them, some of them are stepping up from the QAFL, which is showing the exhibition of strength and development of the state league competition up here.
Yeah, no question about that, and we'll see a bit more of that on Saturday morning when here at Fankhauser Reserve, Palm Beach Currumbin visits the Sharks. So if you're around, I think it's 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. So yeah, get down here and have a good day and watch, I suppose, a powerhouse of the local scene up against the I suppose, representative team of Queensland at the moment.
Absolutely. Another big talking point over the week is Sandringham. They have signed Philip Moy and Will Dunn, but they've also got their big season launch on Sandy by the Bay on Wednesday, March 15th from 6 p.m. It's going to be a huge night, and we look at Sandringham and what they want to do in season 2023. What a great way to kick off the season with that big event.
Yeah, the season launch is very important for the clubs. I think I saw today it might have been Frankston's, is sold out.
Wow!
So that is very impressive. Frankston's season launch, which is coming up in around about that same time.
You've been a bit big on the Dolphins, haven't you? Over the last.
I do like seeing the standalone clubs go well.
Yep.
I make no secret about that. You want to see the best football played, whether that's the standalone clubs or the AFL reserves teams. You just want to see 10 great games of footy every week, but you do have a little bit of a soft spot for the standalones, and hope that because a strong VFL needs 7 strong standalone clubs.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we're going to turn our attention to over the past weekend. There was a massive day over at Craigieburn, the home of the Calder Cannons, and we saw 6 standalone VFL teams go head-to-head in a massive day of practice match footy.
Yeah, certainly did, and 3 very interesting games of footy. The real important one that once again we saw the Northern Bull Ants put in a very solid effort. They were only, I think, 4 points down on Williamstown at three-quarter time. They ended up being overrun in the end, but 19 points was the final margin there. 4-12-36, I think it was, to 8-7-55 in favour of Williamstown. So a really good result for Williamstown to get the points, show that they're going to be a good side again. But the Bull Ants have had a lot of players leave over the off-season. Brodie Holland's come in as the new coach, and it looks like that they're going to be on the right track, and maybe they are going to cause some problems. Problems.
Well, they're going to cause
same thing.
Going to cause a lot of headaches, and
for teams to put them away.
And the Bull Ants are 1-1 from their practice matches so far after a frustrating season last year. So we know they're well and truly on the right track. Saw a couple of other big games, mate. Frankston and Werribee. I know we're talking about Frankston's, what they're doing ahead of their season launch, but it was a tough day at the office against the Tigers. Yeah,
it certainly was. Werribee brought out a powerful team close to full strength for the game. The dual listed medalist was there, Tom Gribble, and basically their full strength side. And Frankston, they had a handful out. They had a very young, inexperienced lineup, and it did cost them a little bit. I think they only kicked the 1 goal, which I think came in the third quarter of the game. The Tigers won by 48 points, 8-9-57 to 139. But once again, Werribee's on notice, really, because they have been a top 4 team over the last 2 years that haven't made the finals.
Yep.
So they've really underachieved, and it's up to them now to live up to how good they actually are and back it up.
I think they say don't read too much into pre-season form, but I think in this case here, a team that needs to live up to it. I think of a particular poll that was put on a network that you and I are tied with, and Essendon of 2000 was named voted the team of the individual season of the year. I remember they took to every game like it was a grand final, including straight through the pre-season game. So for Werribee here, a team that has a lot of expectations, the fact that they've come out of the gate very strongly, they're going to make a point early, and they've got the defence right, they've got the attack right. They just need to start getting it together. And
that was their problem the last 2 years. They've started really slowly.
Yep.
Lost home games early on in the year, and they are losses that you don't get back.
Yep.
They're a quality football team. They bat right down to, I reckon, all the way to the 23.
Yep.
There's no real weak links that you see in them. So we just need them to put it together from the start of the season. So as you said, practice match form doesn't usually mean much, but it does mean a lot to Werribee because they've got to be firing in round 1.
Coburg lost to Port Melbourne, as we expect here from Port Melbourne, who went on to win that one by 50 points, really flexing their muscles, and they seem to be heading on the right track ahead of their development and the confidence of the 2023 season.
Yeah, recruited outstandingly well, as we've mentioned a few times, Port Melbourne, and they pretty well dominated this contest as well. I think Coburg, again, a little bit undermanned. They fought pretty hard, but yeah, 11-9-75 to 3-7-25. I see Port Melbourne, along with Williamstown and Werribee and Southport. I'll be probably, well, the season preview is still coming up in a couple of weeks, but they'll be all somewhere around that top 10, I think, when I predict it. And Coburg, well, they're developing again. They're still developing. They've lost a couple of important players. some very important players, in fact. So that next group will get the opportunity to stand up and bring themselves through and turn themselves into good VFL players under Jesse Cariliano and Jamie Cassidy-McNamara.
Upside about playing some good competition earlier on in the pre-season is to get some of those inexperienced players some good form and experience around some of these powerhouse teams. We saw some action down at Essendon, down at I've forgotten the name that they call it.
The NXT Hangar.
Yeah, the mighty Hangar there. They had a solid win over Sandringham by 20 points, as we alluded to. Some of their new recruits were able to make standout performances there. And Sandringham, not to be denied, put on a gutsy effort. The game sort of got away from them a little bit late.
They did, yeah. They were, just looking at the scores here, they were 2 goals up at quarter time, level at the half. Very windy conditions, I believe, out at the Hangar on Friday.
So they didn't play at Windy Hill.
No,
it seems like they did.
It could have been. But yeah, it was only 8 points of difference at the last change, but Essendon kicked away with 4-2 in the final quarter, 9-9-63 to 6-7-43. Patrick Voss kicked 3 goals for the Bombers, so he was impressive. Billy Cootie, Sam Conforti, members of that no-name midfield that lifted Essendon from 0-8 to 8-10 by the end of the season. Brad Benacki and Stefan Rasenak being the other two who basically had no profile. They're the young guys or guys who've come out of local football, and they just turned it on in the second half of the year, and it looks like they're going to be around the mark again.
Certainly exciting times, and Sandringham, well, they'll get set for another game this weekend and look to try and build on that and maybe try and be the fast finishers instead of the opposition. North Melbourne, successful winners over Footscray by 17 points, 85 to 68. What did you make of that game? I noticed North had a couple of their senior listed players in there as well, as I imagine Footscray would have too.
Yeah, very good performance from North Melbourne. They're a team that finished in the bottom 4 last year. Footscray, I think, ended up 10th or 11th. I think they finished 9 wins and 9 losses after being undefeated the year before. So you expect Footscray to bounce back hard this year. Not having a home ground for most of the season is going to hurt them. Of course, Whitten Oval is out of action due to redevelopments, so they're actually training. Even the Western Bulldogs, the whole club is training out at famous old VFA venue, Skinner Reserve in Braybrook, which has recently been done up, and will host a VFL-VFLW practice match doubleheader in a couple of weeks' time. So we look forward to that. Might even try and get out to that one, pending the cricket commitments. But yeah, the Bulldogs have, obviously decent expectations to bounce back. And for North Melbourne, having lost 5 very important players, or 3 terrific players indeed, to Williamstown, and 5 altogether, they've lost their co-captain and previous best and fairest winner, their leading goal kicker, and I think runner-up in the best and fairest last year, have all gone to Williamstown. So the expectations originally weren't high, but they've brought in 5 players fresh off AFL lists, and it looks like it's going to work for them. So keep an eye out for the Kangas.
The locals here, Southport, they went over to Michael Voss Stadium last Friday night, and they went down to Brisbane by 5 goals. I will say, I was out there on Thursday night. It was just a stunning venue, a wonderful, wonderful place to watch football. There's not a bad seat in the house, and the train station, it just pulls up right outside. You can walk off the train and straight through the gate and pick a seat anywhere you like. It's a wonderful spot, and they've even got a basketball net in there as well, so you can shoot some hoops. And
yeah, right.
So it's just a great spot. It just reminds me of very much of this venue. It's just get a good spot to sit in and enjoy some food, but you can sit on the hill too.
Yeah, certainly have to put that one on the bucket list for next time I'm up here. Hopefully we'll get back up here during the season and sit beside you for a game and see how we go. But yeah, look, brand new facility. You'd expect it to be state of the art. It certainly looks good on the television. So yeah, I'm sure the Lions and Lions fans will be very happy with that, and they're a little bit, I think, closer, a little bit more central than Moreton Bay too. Nothing against the good folk up there, because that was a terrific facility too, apart from having to sit on the back of a ute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was my bucket list item. Brisbane Lions played a little bit top heavy with AFL players. They didn't get a strong run on the Thursday night, so they did filter a couple of bigger names in there with Lyons and Fort and Ainsworth and at Cockatoo, a couple of those players that did get a little bit of ground time on Thursday night, but they dropped down to into the VFL system and had a chance to make a bit of an impact. So I guess a good chance for the Sharks as well to play against some players who are probably going to feature in the sort of top 15 to 18 players for the Brisbane Lions lineup.
Yeah, good test for them. And the Lions, well, they were a preliminary finalist last year as well, remember, of course. They went down to the Demons, I think it was, in the preliminary final after losing to Southport in a qualifying. They'll be desperately keen to stay up there. They flew up the ladder last year from a bottom four when the season got called off in 2021. So they look like they've brought in some quality players at the AFL level, which is obviously going to filter down to the VFL level. So I expect to see 3 very strong teams coming out of Queensland again after they finished second, third and fourth last season.
A couple of other games we'll quickly go through. Box Hill 10-17, 77 defeated Collingwood 7-8-50. The Giants 78 defeated the Gold Coast Suns 68. That was the warm up to the big one over there.
Aaron Cadman kicked 4 goals in that game. The number 1 draft pick. So
he looks like he's just going to slide straight into the ones. You feel just the way Adam Kingsley has got him going.
Yeah, he might be. They have said that they're not going to rush him.
Yep.
As a tall forward, he's going to take time to settle in. So you might see him have to wait a little bit. Not unlike Jamara Ugle-Hagan a couple of years ago, when all the talk was about telling Luke Beveridge to get him into the side, and said, well, I'll put him in when he's ready. And when he did get put into the side, he probably wasn't quite ready.
Yep.
But by waiting, it set him in good stead for what he did last year and what he's going to do this year and that sort of thing. But Cadman kicking 4 goals on Giants' debut in the VFL when they had to come from behind. The Suns led by 2 points at 3/4 time. But yeah, they've got themselves a good key forward there who they consider to be in the ilk of Jeremy Cameron. So
that's what the team needs.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, the VFL will embrace the presence of his development.
Definitely.
And if he's going out kicking bags of goals, it just means that we're probably going to see less of him in the VFL, but he's going to put on a heck of a show when he's doing so.
And that's what all Giants fans want. They don't want to see him in the VFL, and when he's there, they want him turning it on. And I'm sure that the signs are definitely good, because Gold Coast don't have a bad defensive 6.
The last game we'll look at is Richmond 69 defeating the Casey Demons 68. A great hit out there. Casey in their premiership title defence. I know they'd like to win those ones, wouldn't they?
Yeah, 25 points up they were at half-time, the Casey Demons, after kicking 4 unanswered goals in the second quarter. But yeah, Richmond hauled them back in, and that is a really good sign for the Tigers, even being only a practice match, and we don't know if the Demons rested any in the second half or if the Tigers fielded a stronger team in the second half. But to go out to Casey Fields at any time, even in a practice match, is not easy. And they've gone out there and got the win, and that's going to do wonders for their confidence.
Absolutely. Well, you're catching up with VFL 23. You've got Rhodesy, you've got Yeendy. Rhodesy, the birthday boy. Catch us on Spotify, Anchor, Amazon Music, and of course on YouTube. You'll be able to hear the wind coming through the microphone as we're here at Fankhauser Reserve. Welcome back. We are so fired up here at Fankhauser Reserve. We're just a couple of weeks away from the season opener, and we're here on Rhodesy's birthday, which means the reigning grand finalists are putting on a good show. But mate, speaking of putting on a good show, we saw some quality VFLW practice matches going over the weekend. What was your take, and who were some of the standout performers across the weekend?
Well, the clear standout for mine was Williamstown. Finished right down near the bottom of the ladder last year, second last. They've been second last the last 2 years, 2.5 wins out of their 14 games. They've come out, they played a finals team on their home ground in a 6-period game, being Geelong, and they've managed to overrun them and come out with an 11-point win, which is a terrific sign for the Seagulls running into this season. They led by a goal at 10 points, I think it was, at quarter time, or what do you call it, 6th time?
Yep.
They got headed in the second term, but they managed to stick with them. They rallied again. They kicked away in the 5th and yeah, got home 7-9-51 to 6-4-40 across those 6 periods. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about who starred for them, but it's a great result for Williamstown. Geelong had Sashi DeGiacomi and O'Day, young Olivia Ciccolini, all played well for the Cats. But, yeah, a really good result for Williamstown, that one.
What else do we have, mate?
The Box Hill Hawks, newly named, back in the competition. They've got the licence back from Hawthorn, now that Hawthorn is in the AFLW. They took on the grand finalists in the Southern Saints, and after leading by 3 points at three-quarter time in a game where accuracy really counted, they managed to kick away in the last quarter, and they won by 21 points, the Hawks over the Saints, 7-7-49 to 3-10-28. Saints failing to score in the last quarter, whereas the Hawks put on 2 goals 6. So a very strong performance. That three-quarter time score 5-1 to 3-10. So that's how Box Hill stayed in the contest. So really good for them. We saw Port Melbourne, who made the finals in their very first year in 2021. Dropped off last year, finished third last. They played Darebin and had a very good win by 39 points, 9-10-64 to 4 goals 1-25. And the other interesting one was the Casey Demons up against the reigning premiers Essendon out at the Hangar. And the Demons actually kicked 3 goals to a point in the first quarter and were looking really good. But Essendon, they know how to win. And they refuse to lose, even if it's in a practice match, and they only conceded 2 more goals for the rest of the day. Took the lead by, actually no, they were still 9 points down at three-quarter time, 20 to 31. That's 11 points, isn't it? I'll get the maths working. 11
pre-season, mate.
Yep, 11 points down at three-quarter time. They came home, kicked 2 goals to nothing in the last quarter, and got up by a point. So Essendon 5-2-32 to Casey 5-1-31. Again, no details from the game, unfortunately, but the Bombers just proving that they're going to be there again. And, well, for the Demons, a couple of good hit-outs, both in the men and the women, built big leads. Both of them got run down by a point. So a little bit of symmetry there. I don't know if you read much into it.
Well, that's what this part of the season's all about, mate, is looking at those deficiencies in your game and trying to improve them. And as we saw the other week in the AFL, I think it was Richmond, North Melbourne, Richmond had a 2-minute period in the AFL at the back end of the second term where they were up by 4 or 5 points, and that whole drill, the whole 2 minutes was about how they could hold a lead. Yeah. So I would like to think Casey in the VFL and the VFLW, over the next hit-outs, look at how they can come back if they're trailing, as opposed to coming out strong earlier on.
Yeah, so they've started well. It was the first quarter in the women, it was the second quarter in the men. And but yeah, once the opposition team came charging back and ran them down, yeah, how do you get back in front?
Absolutely.
Or how do you hold them off when they are charging home? But I don't think they'll be losing any sleep at all out at Casey Fields.
No, but this is what the pre-season period's all about, looking at some of those things and looking how to improve on that, particularly the men who have got a massive target on their head being the reigning premiers. And I think with the alignment and the development of the women's team, I would think that we would see the women sort of follow in their path a lot more because they are a quality outfit.
Yeah, they are the Demons. They finished, I think, third last year. They made the preliminary final, so they weren't that far off the mark.
They were the bolters earlier on, weren't they?
Yeah, they won their first 7 games, I think, and they had a reasonably good run on the fixture. It got a little bit harder. They didn't play Essendon or Hawthorn until the last 5 weeks, and they obviously lost those games. And the one that they would be most disappointed about would be dropping that preliminary final to the Southern Saints, who'd come from 5th on the ladder.
Let's look at the VFLW action this weekend. I think this is the third weekend of competition for practice matches, and we start with, I think we've got games on Friday night. What have we got there, mate? What have we got to look forward to for the women's?
Big game on Friday night down at Bayside Oval in Williamstown. So get down there, and it's the derby.
Oh, bring it on.
Williamstown up against Port Melbourne. So if you're at a loose end on Friday night, then yeah, get down to Bayside Oval, which is I believe that's Williamstown's training venue.
Yep.
They had an intra-club and a family day there a couple of weeks ago, so you know Williamstown supporters, Port supporters, you know exactly where that is. Down at the school, I believe. So, yeah, head down there, 6 o'clock on Friday night, Williamstown and Port Melbourne. We'll see just how far those two teams have come after really good wins last week.
What else have we got this weekend, mate?
4 games on Saturday, which will be nicely fought out. Carlton versus Collingwood at Icon Park. So, again, no love lost between those two clubs. We saw them play in a VFL game a couple of weeks ago with a big win to the Blues. So, Collingwood will be looked to get a little bit back there. That's at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Also at 11 o'clock down at Deakin University will be Geelong up against the Western Bulldogs. We saw the Bulldogs had a week off last week. I'm trying to remember whether they played in what
I think they might have played an intra-club or something.
Yeah. No, this is actually their first inter-club contest. So,
yep.
So we look to see how they go, how they've improved after what was a very hard season for them last year, not winning a game. Casey Demons versus Southern Saints in a replay of that preliminary final. That's at 12 o'clock at Casey Fields on Saturday, and then Essendon versus the Box Hill Hawks at the NEC Hangar. That's at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, and that is actually the second of a double header. Essendon and Frankston in the VFL at 11 a.m. will be then followed by Essendon Box Hill, so Bombers fans can get out to the Hangar and see both those teams go around on the weekend.
Should be super exciting. Right, we're here with one of the superstars here in the number 2 Guernsey from the mighty Southport Sharks. Footy, thanks for joining us, mate, here on VFL 23. You're going through your paces tonight. We've caught you coming out of the gym, so you're pumping 120 kilos now?
Nah, good to be here, fellas. I appreciate your time. No, I've just got a bit of a turf toe at the moment. Came about Friday night, so I'm on ice tonight, and just had a bit of a little leg pump in the gym, and then Thursday should be all sweet. So
nothing too serious that'll keep you out by round 1?
No, nothing to worry about for me. The old toes, they're a bit annoying, and it's a bit of a weird injury, like your toes are the part that's sore, but by Thursday we should be sweet to train, and then into the next packing match.
We've heard a bit about people having turf toe, like I think Aaron Sandilands had a big problem with it for years. How does it actually happen? You just dig into the turf, or?
A lot of it can either be overuse or like an acute sort of contact injury, and I think mine just jarred into the ground, and I don't have very flexible toes, so the moment it has a bit of contact it kind of swells up, and it never really happens. It's kind of a one-off, so don't see it too often.
Obviously, big season coming up again for the Sharks. Had a terrific year last year, as we all know, making the grand final. Unfortunately, it didn't go to plan on the day against your old team in the Demons, but how things looking to back that up and go one better? Really excited where we're at in this current time, and obviously had our first hit out on the weekend, and we have a lot to take from that, positive and negative, and really keen to get into the year, and we'll just see how we go. We've had some great inclusions into the side, and a lot of young fellas out there training tonight that adds a lot of depth to the squad, and really keen to just kind of see where we can go, and everyone's excited to start playing and getting back out on the ground. Tell us about some of the young guys who have come in, for people who might not know who they are.
I think one of the bigger ones is Ryan Banksmith, who won the Grogan medal out at Aspley last year, and he will just add a whole heap of depth into our midfield, and whether he goes out onto the wing or can even go out at half back, and a few of the young fellas that come from Labrador and Broadbeach. I think it shows the quality of footy that Queensland has at the moment, and there's still some fight for spots on the list, and it's exciting for them and us as a club. So I think within the next week or so they find out. So all the best to those boys. But we've had some really good signings coming into this year.
You've got a massive practice match this weekend. It's going to be very unique because we know with Palm Beach Currumbin up here, they are basically like the Calder Cannons footy factory, just churning out good local players. But one of the things that we see here, particularly with the QAFL, is we're seeing a lot of local players. If they're good enough and the opportunity to present itself, they'll step into Southport. Perhaps there's some players on the weekend or at 10 o'clock that may very well be your teammates this year.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Goobs, Dorse, Spanner, Speedy, they've all been a part of me, and I guess it's another opportunity for us to put our foot forward, but maybe for those boys to show Southport what they have. And I think Broadbeach was the last time we played a Quaffle club in a packing match, and didn't go too well for Broady, so it's our under-23 squad playing this week. So I think really exciting for both teams, and hopefully our boys can get over the line, but hopefully there's a few Palmy boys that have a really good head out too.
And it'll be great to see them running around and yourselves the following week on this new surface that you got out here. Obviously, it was redone just before Christmas, and it should make things a lot better for you, especially when it gets wet in the middle of winter.
Yeah, a lot of money and time has gone into the ground, and the boys are out there now, and we've got all the juniors out there too, which is really exciting, and keen to kind of get back to Southport footy on our own ground, because last year was a bit up and down. We were out at Metricon, and even times when we played here, it probably wasn't up to scratch. So now, you look at the deck and it looks brilliant, and we're really keen to get out there and hopefully start off with a strong win.
Certainly did notice that earlier on with the juniors training on the ground, on the main ground here, as opposed to their second oval. You don't really see that at VFL level at all. So it was really refreshing to see the young fellas in the same singlets that you guys are wearing and out there, and now a couple of them have hung around and they can see this is where we can get to and this is where we want to get to.
Yeah, I think it's it really shows the culture we have at the club, and it's kind of like a community footy club again. I know back at my home club, Langy, I give them a little shout out. The juniors train before us, and then the ones roll out, and I think it's really pleasing that we had the young fellas sticking around too. And my old boss, he's actually one of the coaches of those teams. So we try to get down to training and help them, and it really means a lot when they give back to us, and more cars on game day, and a few more supporters out there.
We saw some massive highlights of this very ground last year. We were talking about off air just that magnificent mark from Woody when he saw to the high heavens. I know you weren't too far away from the action, but I would imagine one of the biggest highlights maybe of your VFL career was playing in a winning final here to advance deeper into the finals. I think it was the prelim final here. That must have been spectacular because the crowd atmosphere was just next level.
Yeah, we before the game we heard a lot, because it was my first year at the club, and we heard a lot about when it comes to finals time, and we were probably the only community footy club playing at that moment. I think Quaffle had to buy, and Suns weren't in the finals in the AFL side, so it was pretty much the Gold Coast sport to go to, and you could definitely notice there was a lot of cars here, a lot of hype, and it was a brilliant game of footy, and one I probably remember most of the year and loved the most, and hopefully we can get a few more games like that next year.
Yeah, and especially obviously having been in the AFL system, you get a chance to play in front of a big crowd like that, and again the following week, that's what you play footy for, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You are. You love the atmosphere of footy, and I think the good thing about Southport is, we've got the kind of 360 car park where everyone can park around, and once again, it feels like your local footy.
Country footy, yeah.
That's the best part of it, and when you get a nice win, it definitely adds to it.
Speaking of Langwarrin, you did sneak back there a couple of times in your year at Casey in 2021. Is that still on the books, or have you listed with another club up here?
No, I was at Surfers last year, managed to get a game in there, and I'll probably do the same again this year. But yeah, when I was at Casey, I loved going back to Langy.
Snuck in a 50 possession game too.
Not that many, but it was really good to get back to the home club. I think a lot of the boys still look at me and reach out to me, and I'd like to think I've done a lot for the club, and it's great for them to have me back. And it was one game 1 week, and then it turned into 2 weeks in a row because of COVID and all that, and then we go back to Casey, and then they have me back again. So a lot of respect for the club, and really appreciated it.
It's just one last one from me. Who's one player that we've got to keep an eye on for that's just a junior that's coming through, been working hard on the track, that's improved a lot from last year? I know you've got some good young players, just thinking of on the spot, but if there's one that we had to go, there's a guy that we'll be interested in watching. I know one of my favourites last year was Maxi Pescudo, just the way he plays his footy, but is there some of those other sort of quality younger players from local level that we might be surprised about next year?
Yeah, Maxi's obviously a no-brainer. He's going to be a star, and he already is a star. One for me, it might be a bit biased, but he's my roommate, and he moved up with me from Melbourne 2 years ago. But big Riley Bowman, if there's ever been a time for him to put his hand up, I think it's now. And we had our gym testing before, and he's hitting PBs in there, and he's looking big, he's looking agile, and would love to see him put some through. But for the local boys, you might have to sit with me here. Corey Joyce, I'll throw him in. Yeah. He was brilliant on the weekend on Friday, and for someone who's played one game of VFL footy, and you looked at the way he played on the weekend, you'd think he's played 50 games. So, yeah, a lot of positives for him. And the role for him as well is up for grabs. You know, we had Quabi as our, pace in the back half last year, and now that he's moved on, we're looking for someone new. And Joycey's put his hand up exactly there, and hopefully have a good year with him.
And the big fellas, the cold hero out there, Big Crozzer, how's he shaping up? And Frey's still around, is he?
Yeah, Fraser's still kicking it. I think Fraser's out there, and Big Goobs is still out there, certainly. Yeah, he's a cold figure at the club, and I think around the league too. He's my uncle's favourite player, I'll tell you that much. We were actually on the phone and we were talking about him earlier. We both love him, and he's actually my boss, so pretty handy that being mentors he's able to employ half the footy club. So yeah, a bit of a plug there for mentors, and yeah, really, really good for them.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Footy, here on VFL 23, mate, and we can't wait to see you carve it up in round 1 against Sandringham and tear it up on this very ground, and certainly going to be a great year for you and the club.
Thank you, appreciate it, boys.
Well, Rhodesy, the birthday boy, we've got big weekend of footy, but before we go through this weekend's matches, we will talk about the other 6 teams from the VFLW on next week's show. We're here at Fankhauser. The Southport Sharks have been so awesome with us, having us down here tonight, particularly on your birthday. I wanted to do something special for you. But we've got some big matches this weekend, mate, and we're into week 3. Before we know it, 2 weeks' time, we'll be getting ready to dance.
Yeah, certainly, and I will say thanks to Southport as well, and especially Cam Smith, who's been absolutely fantastic. And, Zac Foot there, had a fantastic chat with him. So, great to be here, and they've really looked after me, and, can't complain at all. Love coming here, and, hopefully I can be back soon.
Absolutely.
As for the big games, it all starts again on Thursday night, a 3rd consecutive Thursday night game. Icon Park, 7:30 on Thursday night. Carlton versus Port Melbourne. Get along to that one. The Borough coming off a very nice win over Coburg. The Blues didn't have a game last week because their match against Sydney was cancelled due to, I believe, a few injuries in the Swans camp.
Yep.
So they've had a week off after their big victory over Collingwood in the first week of the pre-season. So they'll be hungry. They'll be keen. They'll be fired up, and this will be for. Obviously, having finished 6th last year, this will be the first big test, I suppose, for Port Melbourne to see what sort of expectations we can put around their new-look team, and it is very much a new-look team. Friday night, 4 games on Friday night, would you believe?
Which one are you to choose?
How are you going to choose? They're all ripping contests. Richmond takes on Sandringham at the Swinburne Centre. That's 5:30 p.m. So at 5:30, straight from the office. Get down there, Tigers and Zebras fans, and have a look at that one. You could, if you're out in the northern suburbs, head to the hangar, the NEC hangar. Box Hill Hawks are hosting Williamstown out there. There's never any love lost between those 2 teams, that's for sure. So that will be a beauty as well. That's at 6:30 on Friday night. At 6:45, we have the Casey Demons hosting Coburg out at Casey Fields. So a test for Coburg, and interesting to see what Casey might do. Remembering, of course, that a lot of the AFL players won't be playing in this week because it's their week off before the start of the AFL season.
Correct.
So the AFL-aligned teams, they'll need special permission to allow any of their AFL-listed players to play. So we wait with interest on, that'll be Thursday afternoon, to see what the teams are, and you can see all that on vfl.com.au. The teams are out the day before each game.
That's compulsive viewing every week.
Certainly going to have a look and see who's having a run. See which recruits you've got to come and have a look at.
We're heading out to Geelong on Friday night as well, a little bit later on.
Down to the Cattery at 7 o'clock. Geelong taking on Werribee, and that should be a really good game as well. The what do we call that? The Freeway Derby?
Yeah, we can do that,
We can call it the Freeway Derby. Steal that one off the A-League. Why not? But yeah, so the Cats had a narrow win over Box Hill a couple of weeks ago. Didn't play on the weekend, or did they play on the weekend? I've gone completely blank on that.
We've looked at a lot of footy,
No, they didn't. So they've had a week off Geelong, so they'll be keen to get back into it. Werribee a good win over Frankston, of course, will be playing their second game of the pre-season as well. And then, as we've mentioned a few times here on Saturday morning, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, Queensland fans, get down here to Wally Fankhauser Reserve. Southport taking on Palm Beach Currumbin. I'm sure the Lions will be out for a big showing to try and prove themselves against, could you call them Big Brother?
Yeah, I think so.
In the next league up, and the Sharks, as we just heard from Zac Foot, playing their under-23 lineup. There's a lot of guys that are going to be there potentially playing for spots on the list and that sort of thing. So
there is definitely a lot on the line there.
It'll still be on.
And with the work that I do up here in Queensland footy, I'm really looking forward to a rare chance to see Palm Beach Currumbin without Liam Jones with them this year. But they've got some wonderful talent out there. Tommy Tyne, their captain, is wonderful. They've got I think it's Sean Mullane, who's their coach, the brother of the late brother of Darren. So that club is really on the march. I think they're going to set a really good statement for them. They're aiming for top 4 this year, so expect them to push Southport in a big way. This is not just going to be a Mickey Mouse practice match.
No, it's on.
This is going to be genuine 4 points type atmosphere here at the tank.
Yeah, so get down here and enjoy the footy on Saturday. The first game, of course, on this fantastic new surface down here in front of us as well. So get down and have a look. North Melbourne and Footscray are locking horns for the second week in a row.
Yep.
Last week's game was a late addition to the schedule. This week is at Arden Street at 10:30am on Saturday. The Kangaroos looking to back up what they did last week, and Footscray looking to show us what we've learned, what they've learned from that, and see how they go. And then as I mentioned before the break, a double header at the hangar, the NEC hangar. Essendon versus Frankston in the VFL at 11 o'clock, followed by Essendon taking on the Box Hill Hawks at 1:30 in the VFLW. So yeah, Dolphins, Hawks, Bombers fans, get out there on Saturday and cheer your teams on and see what they're going to produce throughout the course of this season.
Absolutely, we're super pumped. A big shout out again to the Sharks for hosting us tonight, and with all the work that Rhodesy and I have done over a brief period of time. This is actually the first time we've met in the flesh too, mate. So he's a bit taller than what I thought, just quietly, and I'm a little bit jealous of the Mo action there. But no, it's been fantastic. We do appreciate the support of everyone. Make sure you jump on Amazon Music, Spotify, and all the other channels you can catch this on. We're trying to create something to bring a lot more profile to the VFL and VFLW competition, and we're looking at it in ways that it just doesn't get explored, Rosie. And I know you've got your nose to the grind, making sure you're across everything, given that you are the voice of the VFL.
I definitely do my best. It's a challenge. It's a challenge with 33 teams to look after, and 58. I think it's 58 if you count the now Coates Talent League.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so that's all kicking off on the same weekend this year rather than being staggered. So, yeah, it's certainly going to be quite busy in a couple of weeks' time.
Absolutely. Well, you've been listening to Rhodesy, been catching up with Yeendy. This is VFL 23. We look forward to catching up with you next week.